So this is the first video where we start interacting with a repository, and in set 1 learning videos and tasks, we will not be following any best practices when it comes to Git and Github. That's because we just want to focus on the basics, right? That will get us started, and then that will help us do the tasks that are lined up after the learning videos, right? So the simple things that we'll be doing now, we'll be learning how to interact with a repository that is not yours, right? Using the GitHub user interface, and then also how to know that you are in a particular branch when you are on the GitHub user interface, that's the GitHub UI, and then any other thing that we need. So before you start, or before I continue, I would like to say that you have to be in the GitHub training repo. So you will find this repo in my user account among my repositories. My username is ifycode, IFYCODE. That's the I, there is capital letter I. Yeah. So we're just going to get started now. I'm going to click on the fork button at the top right corner of this repository. So if a repository is not your own, you have to fork it. The reason is that you cannot push to a repository that is not yours. We will explain that much later, right? Except if the person gives you access to do so. Most times, or at the beginning, you usually would not have an access to push to such repository. We will explain the word push later on. So there's something I like about the new GitHub user interface when it comes to forking a repo. Before, when you click on the fork button, it does not take you to a create new fork. More like everything you do is just after the fork button, it just creates a new fork. You cannot set anything. But this time around, when you click on the fork button, they redirect you to a create a new fork page, and on this page you can do some basic settings, right, as to how your fork should look. Yeah. So because I am the owner of this repository, as you can see, it carries my name ifycode, right, on the top left corner. So I cannot fork this repository. It already tells me that the repository already exists for me. Uh, Although I can change the name, but even for you who is watching the video, please don't change the name, right? Just for you, it will work because it's in your, it will, you don't have that repository existing. So for you, it would work. So I'm just going to click on your own username. So I literally wrote it here. So for the owner, set it to your own username, right? That is if it's not in your own username before, but originally it would be your own username. Don't change the repository name. I have my reason for saying this. Yeah. And then there is this part where you have copy the main branch only, right? So later on, we will need a branch called develop, right? So we don't want it to only copy the main branch, because if it copies the main branch, we won't have develop branch, right? And we don't want to create it later on. No, we want the develop from the original repository. So I'm just going to uncheck this copy the main branch only checkbox. I'm going to uncheck it, so that way we have all the branches that is in the repository. So looks good now. I'm going to create fork. So I click on this create fork button, and then here our fork is now set up. So two things we will address before I end this video and move to another one is how to know that you are in your fork, right? And also how you know that you're in a branch. So how you know that you're in a fork is that you can see that at the top left, right, you see your own username, whatever your username is, right, slash GitHub training, like slash the name of the repo. And then under it, just very small under it, you see forked from, yeah, the original repo, right? Linked to the original repo there, yeah. So that's how you know that you're in your fork, right? And how do you know that you are in a particular branch? I will not be explaining what branch is, but I will leave materials for you later on uh, that you can visit to learn about those concepts. So, how do you know that you're in a branch? There is this button here, right, carrying main, for example. And then if you click on it, it brings out a drop down, right, where you see different branch names, which remember we uh, while we were forking, we pulled not only the main branch but every other branch when we unchecked that button. Yeah. So how do I know that I'm in a branch? Uh, for example, if I click on this develop now, you see that um, if I click on develop from that drop down of branches, you see that on the button that carries a branch name, develop is written there, right? And then in the browser URL, you will notice that develop is, yeah, is in the browser URL. So those are the ways that you can know that you are in a particular branch. So for example, if I click on GH pages branch from that same drop down, when I click on that button, you can see that on that button that carries the branch name, the name there is now GH pages, and then also in the browser URL, I have GH pages in there. So uh, I'm going to just go back to main branch right now, right? Because we want to keep it simple at this point so that there is no confusion. So you can see also that the button is back to saying main, and then, well, we have it in the browser URL, but since main is in the or since main I mean since main is the default branch, right? uh, Sometimes it's not necessary that it's, yeah, in the browser URL, but the button will tell you that, oh, yeah, I on main branch. Yeah. So that's it about interacting with a repo that is not your own, knowing when you are in your fork, and then knowing when you are in a branch. See you in the next video.